people were a mystical divine race who came to Ireland possessing all these different treasures, the spear of Lugh, the cauldron of the Dagda and whatever. And they travelled a very circuitous route to come back to Ireland because they came from an earlier race called the Numidians. And they brought with them the entire system of beliefs, the pantheon of the gods that was worshipped for maybe 2,000 years afterwards and which still exists today, you know.
There may be sort of folk recollection of ancient history, of people before ourselves, of a different people being here. There are all sorts of theories anyway, but to explain why such ideas should come about, that there would be a different kind of people living under the ground or even under the water. I mean, there are traditions of life under the lakes and the sea as well.
Pagan, a person who doesn't believe in the Catholic religion, before a person who worships, what were they called? The old gods, as they are called, like they worship nature and the sun and the wind and the elements.
I was brought up to believe the pagans or black heathens living in the jungle. And I've always found it offensive because the black heathens happen to have a system of religious beliefs that are probably superior to our own. Most of them are animists. When they talk about pagans in Ireland, they talk about, you know, people who had a very sophisticated culture.
There are monuments around here where I live. There are Stone Age monuments that are 5,000 years old. The Celts only came here 2,000 years or so ago. So there were people here for the best part of 2,000 years. The people who built Newgrange, like the great Newgrange tomb and things like that, were pre-Celtic peoples we know very little about.
Newgrange was built 3,100 years before Christ, BC. It stands on an older structure, about 1,000 years older than that. The people who built it certainly weren't fairies. They were geniuses. They were sort of the Einsteins of their time. It's built to precise algebraic and geometric formula that predate Pythagoras, who supposedly invented algebra, and Euclid, who supposedly invented geometry, by about 2,500 years.
It's ancient, it's thousands of years old. The stones are built in the form of a passage that way, and there's a little passage going between them. And for whatever reason, we don't know, I suppose that when the sun sets on the shortest day of the year, the sun actually shines straight into where the people were buried. So they were following the sun, or they had some symbolism or whatever it was, we don't know.
I would say that it is essentially a solar observatory because every stone on it is painted with solar symbols. They all relate to the cycle of the sun, the moon and the stars, and that in turn gives, if you're a druidic caste, that gives you power over everybody else because you know the right time to plant, the right time to sow, and if you know, the locals don't do what they're told, you can tell them there's going to be an eclipse and you know exactly when it's going to be. You can put the fear of God in them, you know.
I wouldn't go in there when I was a child. I was afraid of it.
What were you afraid of?
Fairies. Before a Lord was born, they walked around this land.